So what's happened in 2026 with the Iran war is the inverse of all that. The new rules of power are America can be beaten. It's not America that has escalation dominance. It's Iran that has escalation dominance. It's not America that has the precision revolution and just the high, this high-end military complex. Iran has precision power now, and it's cheap, and it can be produced en masse, and it can be produced in greater mass than America's very expensive boutique interceptors. So and then the consequences are tremendous for the United States, for the world, because of the cost of the shock to the world economy, which is only beginning. It hasn't even fully hit yet. This is the opposite of the 91 Gulf War. This is the war that is going to define the decline of American hegemony, not the rise of American preeminence. And it's creating power vacuums already.
For decades, American military power was built around one overwhelming advantage: strike faster, strike more precisely, and force the enemy to back down. Professor Robert Pape believes the Iran war may be exposing the limits of that strategy. His warning isn't simply about another bombing campaign. It's about the Strait of Hormuz, cheap drones, a widening regional power vacuum, and a military problem he argues could be far harder to solve than Washington expected. And if he's right, the most dangerous phase may not be behind us. It may be beginning now.
That's the trap. That's the trap. And we fell into the trap. Other American presidents have fallen into this trap. Other countries, Putin has fallen into the trap. But the trap we're in now with Iran, this is probably the most wicked escalation trap for America in history, and maybe just in history. It is that difficult because every month that this war has proceeded, you have seen President Trump has tried a new tactical strategy. First, it was leadership bombing. That didn't collapse the regime in Iran. Then it was shifting over to 6 weeks of a bombing campaign against mostly military targets. These are the launcher. This was the launcher campaign. And it did. We did score some success. We were not quite as tactically successful as some might have thought, but nonetheless, we did knock out a fair portion of Iran's missiles and missile launchers. And then we shifted over to, but that didn't lead to success. Iran did not buckle there either. And then we shifted over to the U.S. blockade, which again was tactically successful. We could stop ships. We could even attack ships. But it produced not just strategic failure, but strategic weakness. Now, what's the key weakness in all of these points? It is Iran taking Hormuz. In every single, what happened in this war is within the first few days, Iran lashed back, and with its drones, it also used mines, it effectively seized control of Hormuz. And this was fully predictable, Cyrus. So 3 days before the first bombs fell on the Escalation Trap Substack, I published the very first post called The Smart Bomb Trap. And this piece is the product of 20 years of modeling the bombing of Iran. I do this every year in my class called Strategy. That's the nickname for it at the University of Chicago. I end that class in the spring with a 90-minute simulation of what would happen if we bombed Iran, the nuclear sites, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been doing that for over 20 years. And so the stages I lay out: stage one, the bombs would be tactically successful. Stage two, Iran would lash back, seize Hormuz. Stage three, we would be caught in a ground power dilemma where we are going to face a choice. Either we concede and Iran becomes truly a regional hegemon. It's not just a matter of ending a war with Hormuz. Iran has an enormous capacity now to become far more powerful than it ever has been in its modern history. And this will really change the dynamics of world politics. or we either accept that outcome, or we have to fight to take it back. It's not, Iran's not just going to give it up, and they're not just going to sue for peace, because what's occurring here is a shift in the balance of power. That's what it means to become strategically weaker, and that's why Iran is just not going to give this up. So that was the prediction 3 days before the bombs fell, and then the bombs fell, and literally everything happened.
That's the central argument Pape wants viewers to understand. Tactical success and strategic success aren't necessarily the same thing. The United States can destroy individual targets and still face a worsening strategic position if those strikes don't produce the political outcome Washington wants. And in Pape's analysis, Hormuz changes the equation, because reopening one of the world's most important shipping routes isn't simply about hitting another fixed target. It's about whether the threat to commercial shipping can actually be removed.
What has happened with those tacos is these are strategic paralysis by the United States. We are in the escalation trap. Trump is fumbling between a dilemma. He's on the horns of a dilemma. There's no good way out for him. But that paralysis is not for the United States, doesn't mean paralysis for Iran and other actors in the region. They are not paralyzed. They're going forward to gain power, try to gain more influence, because as America's power declines, it creates power vacuum. Power vacuum. And guess what? Power vacuums don't like to stay vacuums. Mm-hmm. Power rivalries come in to fill the vacuums, and that's what you're seeing. That's why Iran is exerting itself to gain leverage. It's initiating attacks. That's why it's you see now Iran's proxies, the Houthis, for example, doing similar things, similar attacks with Saudi Arabia. And then you see Saudi Arabia initiating some attacks. What you are seeing is a classic situation of a spiral. This is the spiral phase of the escalation trap. Cyrus, you mentioned when we started the feeling things are getting out of control. They've been getting out of control since the very first bomb fell on February 28th. Now it's just growing. And one of the reasons it's getting out of control now is as the war widens and that power vacuum continues to occur, you're getting more actors involved. And they each can independently use force. And America, they're not always calling America here to say, hey, do you mind if we do this or that? Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And that's true of our allies, but the ones who are not our allies, the other side, they're never calling us. So, and they're not, and this isn't this necessarily highly coordinated action where Iran has now become the puppet master, pulling the strings on each and every attack. That's not quite it. What's happening is we have a power vacuum, and in the power vacuum, this is the spiral phase of the escalation trap. More and more actors are now involved. It's the United States, it's Iran, it's Israel, it's Hezbollah, it's the Houthis, it's Saudi Arabia, it's the Iran proxies in Iraq, and so what you are seeing is this phase, and it's coming because this war has some really unique characteristics, and those characteristics are devastatingly bad for the United States.
And this is where Pape's warning becomes much bigger than a U.S.-Iran confrontation. His concern is that once several armed actors are operating inside the same crisis, Washington doesn't control every decision that could trigger the next escalation. One strike can produce another response, which creates pressure for another response after that. That's the spiral he's describing, and it leads directly to the hardest military problem in the interview.
And it is has a range of between 500 and 1,200 miles. And I'll just use the shorter range here. What that means with a range of 500 miles is that Shahed drone, again, it's about the size of a king-size mattress. That Shahed drone could be anywhere in a 500-mile by 500-mile drone launch zone along the coast of Iran with Hormuz at the midpoint, and then still hit that ship. So that's 500 miles by 500 miles. That's
huge.
1.5 times the size of California.
Wow.
And how many Shahed drones does Iran have? Well, they certainly have thousands. There are some counts they have tens of thousands, but they could make many hundreds. These are not that difficult to make. And we would need to shut down the number below something like 200. As my best estimate. Because if they've got 200, that's plenty to do drone swarms and at least do enough of them over a period of weeks to make more drones. Right. So you've got to really shrink that number down. So now that's a two-dimensional scale problem, but it's worse than that, Cyrus, because there's mountains that are huge mountains called the Zagros Mountains in most of that 500 by 500 mile zone. And in those mountains, you can hide those drones, the Shahed drones, pretty much anywhere in the nooks and crevices, and of course under the mountains here. And so, and this is again, it's about the size of the Shahed drone of a king size mattress, except twice as heavy. It's not 10 times heavier. It's about twice as heavy as a king-size mattress. So you do need a couple guys or a couple people to carry them around, but you don't need trucks to carry them around necessarily. So what that means is that scale problem, remember I said it was 1.5 times the size of California, except it's a three-dimensional problem as well, because those king-size mattresses could be anywhere in those mountains. And they don't have to all be stored nice and neat in one area for us to just get, hit one hit and we knock them all out. Okay, they're likely going to be dispersed here. And so think about it as the mountains are like a skyscraper, like the Empire State Building, except the Zagros Mountains are 10 times the height of the Empire State Building. Jeez. And the Empire and those drones, that king size mattress can be in the basement of the Empire State Building. It can be on the ground floor. It could be on the 10th floor. It could be on the 17th floor. Right. You get my point. So, and so you really have to scour this. And then, do you know how many Empire State Buildings you can fit in that 500 by 500 mile area? 1.6 million.
Jeez.
This is what we're talking about. 11,000 Manhattans. That's our problem. This is why the drone hunt. Now, I can't tell you that this could never be solved, although I'm pretty sure it's probably not. Okay? But it's certainly not going to get solved in the next 3 months.
And that's the operational problem behind Pape's entire warning. His argument isn't that American forces lack technology, training, or firepower. It's that the search area is enormous. The weapons are comparatively small and mobile, and Iran can disperse them through difficult terrain. That creates a brutal mismatch. Destroying identified targets is one thing. Finding enough launch systems across an area this large to make commercial shipping feel safe again is something entirely different. And the clock may matter almost as much as the battlefield.
Yeah, the number, well, there's two big things to really track. Number one is the times that Iran initiates the use of force. We're so used to thinking this is tit for tat or Iran is retaliating. We've become sort of baked in that, well, Trump started this war, Trump and Israel started the war. So therefore, if only they would stop, then that's all you need to do. It's just Trump just has to stop launching attacks and the war is over. The world's economy is saved, et cetera, et cetera. Well, as I've been trying to explain, Iran is moving from survival to ambition and also revenge. So the first thing to notice here is the initiative is happening by Iran. It's been happening more and more. And so I think people need to pay attention to that. And some people just don't, because they keep wanting to, and I'm not trying to let Trump off the hook. That's not it. You hear me. I'm not letting him off the hook. I'm trying to understand what's happening. So we need to understand that. The second thing is, are we actually moving troop forces out of the region? I don't mean assembling them from a frontline base like Qatar to further away bases in Jordan, Israel, and then apparently, from what I'm hearing now, Egypt, even maybe even Turkey. But we want to know whether those forces are actually coming home, because this may be the ultimate price that has to be paid in order to have any semblance of ending Iran's attacks in the next 3 months, is that all of American troops come out. I would not advocate for that at the moment. I would like to see if we could develop still a longer term balancing policy here. But the truth is that those days are quickly passing us, because we have continued to make strategic mistake after strategic mistake, and and as you make those mistakes, you got to pay the prices for it, usually in terms of power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pape's warning ultimately comes down to one distinction. Winning individual strikes does not automatically mean winning the larger strategic contest. The next phase will be determined by whether Hormuz can genuinely return to normal commercial traffic, whether the conflict continues spreading to additional actors, and whether Iran begins taking more of the initiative. Those are the indicators worth watching, not simply the next headline or the next threat. Because if this really is an escalation trap, the biggest question isn't who can strike harder. It's who can actually find a way out. That gives the video a real conclusion instead of simply stopping after another warning.